Looks like Lendlease and Google is canceling this development. Google has officially just canceled this.
And so for us, we decided to push back and fight back. But it's not just that. That's the tip of the iceberg, rigging.
The governor of California is in total meltdown as Google pulls the plug on a staggering $15 billion project. Overnight, thousands of jobs, tens of thousands of homes, and an entire vision for Silicon Valley vanished into thin air. Panic, chaos, and disbelief now grip Sacramento as the state confronts the brutal reality of a tech giant abandoning its promises.
Any anxiety that may be created or any market disruption that may be created.
Governor Gavin Newsom is in full-blown panic. Phones are ringing non-stop, aides are running around screaming, and papers are strewn across the office like a storm just tore through. The reason? Google has officially canceled its $15 billion Bay Area mega project, a plan that was supposed to reshape Silicon Valley from the ground up. For residents, investors, and state officials, it's a gut punch. 15,000 homes, massive office towers, sprawling retail developments, and entire neighborhoods that were set to be transformed. Now, gone.
The whole Lendlease and Google fiasco is they're completely done. It's like basically confirmed there's going to be 0 projects.
The scale of this collapse is almost unimaginable, and the question on everyone's lips is simple. What happens when even the biggest tech giants abandon California? The state's future feels like it's on fire.
Alright guys, we gotta talk about the Google Lendlease breakup. It almost feels like a very good relationship, and now it's getting more toxic every single day. So if you guys don't know what's going on, essentially if you go to the Bay Area, you see one major thing, which is super cheap rents, real estate defaults, and basically real estate developers just running away from the Bay Area because why would you ever build an apartment here when chances are there's not going to be enough tech workers that rent it.
Back in 2019, the vision was thrilling. Google and Australian developer Lendlease announced plans for multi-campus developments across Mountain View, San Jose, and Sunnyvale. 15,000 new homes, millions of square feet of commercial and office space, and a promise to revitalize sleepy neighborhoods that had been stagnating for decades. San Jose, long known as quiet and underdeveloped, was supposed to boom. Downtown areas were expected to buzz again, streets filled with construction workers, tech employees, and local businesses benefiting from the influx. The excitement was palpable. Families were dreaming of moving into new housing. Workers were counting on high-paying construction jobs, and the Bay Area braced for a tech renaissance that could cement its global dominance. For a moment, the future looked unstoppable, but then reality hit like a hammer. The project was officially planned to begin construction in 2026, and it dragged on with careful planning, designs, and zoning approvals. Millions were already poured into architects, urban planners, and preparatory work. And yet, in November 2023, Google and Lendlease pulled the plug. The reasoning was a stark reflection of changing times. Remote work had permanently altered office demand, the economy had shifted, and office vacancies were exploding. Downtown San Francisco was no longer a thriving hub. It was littered with empty storefronts and abandoned office spaces. The Bay Area's streets had begun to show cracks under the weight of rising homelessness and crime, and tech companies started leaving in droves. For Google and Lendlease, the calculus was simple. Why spend $15 billion building new when foreclosed office buildings were available for pennies on the dollar? The decision was cold, strategic, and absolute. Millions of dollars of planning wasted, entire neighborhoods' futures torn away, and the state helpless. There was no negotiation, no compromise. Just the brutal reality that a single corporation's decision could erase years of work and hope.
And Lendlease bagged this contract from Google in 2019. Everyone was hyped up because it will bring 15,000 new housing units and also this enormous brand new campus in Mountain View, California.
Meanwhile, the Bay Area is slowly crumbling under its own pressures. Post-pandemic life brought unprecedented challenges. Crime surged, homelessness skyrocketed, and local businesses, already fragile, started closing at alarming rates. Streets once bustling with life now feel abandoned. Downtown San Francisco is a ghost town, with office vacancies potentially reaching 42 to 50% when factoring in zombie offices. Spaces technically leased but empty because companies have moved or shut down. San Jose, which had pinned so much hope on the Google project, finds itself with neighborhoods that are eerily quiet, with construction cranes idling and planned developments abandoned before they ever began. This is the emotional heart of the collapse. The Golden State, long a symbol of innovation and wealth, is starting to feel like a shadow of its former glory. Residents are frustrated, investors are wary, and the political leadership is scrambling to respond to what looks like a systemic failure.
But of course, Google canceled the project, and there's even a bunch of tech companies trying to shift their workers out of California in general.
It's not just the economic numbers, it's the human toll. Thousands of jobs tied to construction, urban planning, and retail development have vanished. Families who were expecting new housing and opportunities are left in limbo, while local businesses that had prepared for the boom are now shuttering. The cascading effect is staggering. Google's withdrawal didn't just cancel buildings, it canceled futures, livelihoods, and the vision of a thriving Bay Area that could have defined the next decade. And at the center of all this is the governor's office, a nerve center of panic, trying to grapple with the enormity of a corporate decision that no legislation or negotiation could prevent. The contrast between hope and devastation could not be starker. What was meant to be a rebirth of Silicon Valley has turned into a cautionary tale of what happens when ambition collides with harsh reality. Plans for sparkling campuses and residential neighborhoods are replaced by shuttered streets and ghost offices. Political promises, economic projections, and public expectations now lie in ruins. And the central question remains, if even Google walks away from the Bay Area, what does that mean for the future of California? The answer is messy, brutal, and terrifying, and the panic in Sacramento is only the beginning of a story that will define the state for years to come.
And that's pretty bad. So Google Lindley's breakup translates to extremely bad news for San Jose, because they're supposed to be making a bunch of offices, a bunch of shops, and so far they're going to be axing the project. Now there's still a few projects that they will be greenlighting, but it's very minimal. Maybe a few housing developments here and there.
The financial fallout from Google's cancellation is nothing short of catastrophic. $15 billion in construction vanished. Millions of potential wages evaporated overnight. Thousands of workers who had been counting on this project to keep roofs over their heads and food on the table suddenly found themselves in limbo. San Jose, Mountain View, and Sunnyvale, the neighborhoods that were supposed to hum with construction energy and tech optimism, are now left with an eerie silence. The local economies took a massive hit, and small businesses that had been banking on a surge of construction workers, tech employees, and new residents are scrambling to survive. Coffee shops, lunch spots, and local vendors that had quietly built their livelihoods around this project now face empty seats and dwindling sales.
$15 billion for construction is nothing to sneeze at, guys. We're looking at enormous campuses, whole entire cities being transformed. But the reason why Google has ended this development now officially is because why would you ever spend $15 billion when you could just buy a bunch of foreclosed offices?
And this isn't just a localized disaster. The ripple effect spreads far beyond the Bay Area. Google's broader layoffs, cutting 12,000 employees, only added fuel to the fire. Smaller tech firms, already jittery from the post-pandemic economy, started thinking twice about California. If even Google, the unshakable giant, could pull the plug, what chance did they have? The combination of lost construction jobs, tech layoffs, and departing startups is like a domino chain knocking over the Bay Area's economic foundation. Families are worried, workers are stressed, and local shops are wondering if they will even survive the next year. Governor Gavin Newsom, meanwhile, is in meltdown mode. He had championed this $15 billion project as a cornerstone solution to California's housing shortage, a chance to revitalize struggling neighborhoods while injecting life and opportunity into the economy. Now he's publicly pressured, internally scrambling, and privately panicked. The governor's aides are running from office to office, trying to keep him calm, but the reality is inescapable. A project he had pinned so much hope on has crumbled in a corporate heartbeat. And it's not just the project itself. There are ongoing tensions with Google over tech regulations, privacy laws, and payment for news content. Suddenly, California's biggest political and economic negotiation isn't on a committee floor. It's the nightmare of trying to control a Silicon Valley giant that clearly answers to no one. Trust in the government is shaken, and questions about whether the state can retain massive investments in the future are now unavoidable.
Whopping $1 billion in the San Francisco Bay Area for numerous different projects, from retail to residential to massive office complexes. This is going to give the Bay Area like a huge boost.
Part of the problem is that the Bay Area is simply becoming less attractive for tech companies. Remote work trends have drastically reduced the demand for office space. Empty offices and foreclosed buildings are everywhere, offering cheap alternatives that make a $15 billion mega project feel excessive and outdated. And it's not just Google leaving quietly behind the scenes. Other companies are jumping ship to Nevada, Texas, and Florida, states that actually make running a business relatively painless. Blaze Pizza moved its headquarters to Atlanta. In-N-Out is closing locations, retail is in decline, and the Golden State's high taxes, escalating crime, and mismanaged infrastructure are pushing talent and money out the door. The Bay Area, once the crown jewel of tech innovation, is rapidly losing its luster.
And check this out, empty storefronts of downtown San Francisco is skyrocketing. People are saying that the vacancy rate reported is 37%, but everyone doesn't believe that. It's like way higher than this. There's also a lot of people saying it doesn't calculate in like zombie vacancy rates, which are offices that are leased out, but there's no companies in it because the companies have already left.
For residents and investors, the reality is brutal. The homes and apartments that were supposed to be built now exist only in planning documents and slide decks. Commercial spaces dominate the skyline, but many are empty, half-finished, or abandoned. Real estate markets are unpredictable. Foreclosures are piling up, and investors are questioning whether California is still a safe bet for massive development. For families who had hoped to move into new housing or small business owners who counted on increased foot traffic, the cancellation is devastating. Economic despair is real, tangible, and spreading like wildfire. And the implications go even deeper. California's future as a hub for mega projects is suddenly in doubt. Systemic failures, crime, homelessness, city management issues, and contentious corporate regulation battles paint a bleak picture for future development. The tech-driven economic renaissance that the state had been counting on is evaporating. Can California recover? Can it convince companies to invest billions of dollars in a place where streets are unsafe, offices are abandoned, and leadership seems unable to control the giants it relies on? The Golden State's image is tarnished, and its standing as the world's innovation capital is under threat. At this crossroads, the panic in Sacramento is a stark reminder of the fragility of even the most ambitious plans. $15 billion, thousands of homes, and countless jobs, all gone in a single decision. The governor's office is in chaos, residents are disillusioned, and the Bay Area hangs in an uneasy limbo. And the biggest question remains, what happens next? Can tech giants return, or is California becoming a cautionary tale? A state too expensive, too chaotic, and too unpredictable to build the future it once promised. The answers are uncertain, but the tension, outrage, and fear are real, and they are just beginning to ripple through the state. Subscribe, like, and comment why you like this video for a chance to win a new Apple MacBook.